Hello, my friend. I am CharLee Simons, your host here on Two Not Talk. Two Not Talk. That's right. I changed the set. Started to talk about tuna talk. Tuna talk is what I was considering when I was down in San Diego at the California GOP convention, and I looked at all the people there fighting amongst themselves and arguing and fussing and saying some really stupid things. The rhinos were on parade up and down the hallway. I looked out at the water. Have you ever been to San Diego? It's a great area. I love it, even for a big city. I'm not a big city guy, but man, that's a great place. Too bad the leftists have just about taken it over and destroyed it. But I'm looking out the water and I'm thinking, I'd rather be out there doing some sport fishing. Tuna would be great too. So today I'm calling the show Tuna Talk. How about that? We'll just talk about tuna. There's skipjack, there's yellowtail, there's bluefin, it's all delicious. That's what it is. It's every bit as tasty as Delta Smelt. If you haven't had Delta Smelt, try it on a sandwich. It's really good, mayonnaise. I am CharLee Simons. I know I sound weird. It's because I got sick at the convention, which seems to be my MO. Every time I go to the convention, I get sick. I'm allergic to rhinos. And there were plenty of them at that California Spring GOP Convention 2026, where we did not endorse a gubernatorial candidate. The top two polling were there. They made it. I'm talking about Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco. Okay, they made it. They got the most amount of votes from all of us delegates, and I'm a delegate. Now, after I show you this, I probably won't be. They'll probably come after me. We told you, don't tape anything, don't shoot any photos in these sessions, but you know what? Screw that. I thought that you needed to see this because the media did exactly what I said the media would do if this happened, and sure enough, here it is. All right, what does that mean? Well, according to the media today, the GOP, California Republican Party, refuses is the word that they have been printing and saying, not is unable to, which is the proper term, refuses to endorse a Republican candidate for governor. So what happened at all? See, the rules are that, and you can check this out for yourself. If you want to watch that video and share it, like the couple of tens of thousands who have already, because it's a real exclusive video there. Nobody's seeing that outside of delegates. You have to get 60% to get an endorsement. They were close, so close that neither one of them got 60%. So Chad Bianco was claiming victory in the end because he got the popular vote. Not by much, but he got the popular vote from all the delegates who were there. So he's like, that's it. I got a victory. Steve Hilton, some of his people were standing up saying we should endorse both candidates. I agree with that. I was amazed at how many of my own fellow Republicans disagreed with it. It made perfect sense to me because with the jungle primary nonsense in California, where the top two vote getters go to the final election in November, they have dominated us ever since that went into effect, 17 years ago. Nobody's even talked about getting rid of it, and I don't understand. Well, I do understand. The left has dominated our government here, and they love it. It's fantastic because they got all the voting, cheating, crap, fraud going on, millions of illegals voting. Yeah, the top two vote getters every primary are always Democrats. So the Republicans, we're screwed. But now I think that people are sick enough of what has been happening and what they've been seeing over the past 8 years of the hierarchy, nonsense, tyranny, and total out of control spending and recklessness of the entire Democrat Party in California. I think they've finally had enough. As my friend Rudy Rosselli who runs for Congress, I'm his delegate. He's running for Congress in the Bay Area 8th District. He said that they haven't felt enough pain yet. I think they finally felt enough pain. So I do believe, I'm encouraged actually after that convention, even though I'm discouraged by my own Republican Party. It's gotten a lot of that's the chair and the board and the people who are running the show now. It's just packed to the brim with rhinos, Republicans in name only. And I think we, the people, though, and if President Trump is successful with the Save America Act, which I don't think that's going to happen, I really don't. I wish it were, but I don't think it's going to. I think he's ready to pull the switch on an executive order just to take care of a lot of that election fraud, require voter ID, get rid of the mail-in ballots, and so on. And if all that happens, that's a lot of ifs, we could have 2 Republican candidates going for governor in November. Sheriff Chad Bianco, in my opinion, went over a lot of hearts and minds at that convention. Steve Hilton did what I've noticed Steve Hilton does everywhere. He speaks in a lot of platitudes. This is what everything that is just always negative. Democrats. I get it. Yeah, so we all know that. We know it. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? If you elect me as governor, I'm going to do this, and gasoline is going to be down to $3 a gallon, and I'm going to cut your power bills in half. And I hear that again and again and again. Who does that sound like? Every stinking politician on the planet. You elect me, and you'll get a chicken in your pot, and pot in your chicken. You'll get all of this free, free, free. I'll fix it. Just tell me how. Well, Chad Bianco told me how. He kept telling everybody how. Yep. It's funny. He actually said this in one speech that I played. And it's on my Rumble page, rumble.com/do-not-talk, along with that on the floor video, that vote. Sheriff Bianco said it's unfortunate for Steve Hilton that I heard everything he said while I was waiting in the back room to come up, and we all laughed. And he goes, I'm just amazed at all the things that I've been saying over the past several months. Now, suddenly he's saying the same. But he said, here's what he didn't tell you. Here's how. Tell me more, young Padawan. Tell me how. And he did. Changed my heart. Changed my mind. It really did. I voted for him, Chad Bianco. And you know I've had problems with him. But I voted for him. He still hasn't been on my show. I don't know if he's ever going to be. But let's get my boy in here, Arthur Schapper. He's standing by and listen to me go on and on and on. He probably wants to say something too. So let's do it now on Do Not Talk. Are you ready? Hit it. Yeah!
Yes, there's a great deal I want to talk about. I'm like chomping at the bit here. This is so exciting. It went so well.
I bet you are, man. I bet you are.
Oh, man, it was great. You know, I would have been jumping out of my seat, thrilled. Yes, he did win the popular vote. I don't care how close it was. A lot of people tried to rain on that parade. It doesn't matter. And why is this so important? Because as we know, Donald Trump swooped in and gave Hilton a boost. Well, actually, he didn't, because he didn't. I mean, not only did he not get a boost, but we can go back to 2018. John Cox got like 55% of the delegates, and Travis got 40. So you look at it, remember, Trump endorsed John Cox. And it didn't matter.
But I didn't understand that either. Travis Allen, how can you go against him? He's a true conservative. John Cox, no. What was that all about?
But the good news is, I mean, it really shows how weak the endorsement was, because the endorsed candidate did worse than Bianco. So this is great.
I'm sorry. I really am sorry that President Trump did that, because now it's given the media more fodder. And they're also saying, as I predicted, California Republican Party goes against President Trump. Or they never say president. They just say Trump. And that's happening. I'm seeing it in print. I'm hearing it on reports. The California Republican Party refused to endorse any of the candidates. They win against Donald Trump. Trump endorsed Hilton, and he did not get any endorsement of the California Republican Party. That's what they're doing. I knew they would.
The funny thing is, I think that's going to work even more, because Republicans showing themselves as like distinct will further broaden the brand to liberal independents or Democrats who are tired of the crazy in California but still don't like Trump. We pray that they will repent and like Trump. Oh, I don't want to use repent, because then people will say that I'm comparing him to Jesus. No, I'm not doing that. I promise. Christ is my savior. Trump is my president. Let's make that very clear. But still, I loved everything that I saw. I think it is excellent. I think this is just such an exciting dynamic, just from an analytical perspective. I have tried to be as magnanimous as I can. I don't attack Hilton people. I don't call them rhinos. We do not see, this is not a grassroots versus establishment difference. This is very different, because you've got establishment people who like Bianco. You've got establishment people who like Hilton. You've got grassroots people who like Bianco. You've got grassroots people who like Hilton. You see such a wide diversity of support and difference. And I think that's really a good thing. I think that's interesting. And it also ensures the greater likelihood that there'll be two Republicans in the top two. And Bianco,
still could be a possibility, but if we would have done a dual endorsement, why would we not do that? I don't understand why we would not even entertain that. It was never even the topic of discussion. I was there all weekend at this convention.
Nobody made a motion on the floor to.
Yes, okay. They did.
Okay,
and they were gavelled out, and their microphone was shut off.
Well.
Russell, he's a guy from the Bay Area, as a matter of fact. I can't think of his last name right now, but I sure like him.
I think I know who you're talking about. He looks like
he got up and made that motion.
Somebody has to challenge the ruling of the chair. That's the way to do it. So
somebody needs to fire the chair.
There you go. That would be Corinne. So Corinne gavelled him down. It was her.
Yes. Oh, by the way, they denied my press credentials. And Matt Shoup, who is Corinne Rankin, the CAGOP chair's lapdog.
Right.
I saw him, and I said, Matt, and he turned and he looked at me, and then he turned away and tried to walk quickly. I said, Matt, and there were people all around, and he stopped, and I got up and I went to him and I said, I'm CharLee Simons. I'm the one whose press credentials you denied. Why?
Good job.
And he goes, yeah, sorry about that. But and he starts to walk away again. I said, no, serious, wait. Why? Can you just give me a reason? And then he looks down at my badge and he goes, well, you're a delegate. I can't talk to you. Walks away. I don't know what that means. Why you can't talk to a delegate. He's like second in command, third in command of the California GOP. Smarmy little goofball.
Where is he in the grand scheme of things? He was Charles Munger's guy. I know about that.
Oh, you know Matt Shoup?
I know all about it. He was the John Cox consultant who, San Diego press gave him a lot of glorious press when John Cox made it into the top two in 2018. But I mean, like, he's in Santa Clara County. You see, Praetorian Public Relations. He's a consultant. There you go. He's there in Santa Clara.
That's right, a political consultant. Yeah.
It's all about the
money.
money.
Why he's handling press credentials for the California GOP, I don't know. But I know he's like under Corinne. Of course, everybody is, because she's the chair.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I saw her video. It gave me Kamala Harris vibes. Made me cringe. Everything about.
You'll like this. There's another gentleman, also a Bay Area guy from. His name is CharLee. Also CharLee. They showed two of those promotional propaganda, Republican propaganda videos about Corinne Rankin. Look how wonderful I am. And it was featuring her through both of those videos. So we had to watch 3 actually. One was honoring those who passed last year, including my friend Steve Frank. And I'm so glad they did that. And Congressman Doug LaMalfa. Absolutely. That was great that they did that. But before that, there was a promotional video. After that, it was a look at me on Corinne Rankin, how wonderful I am and all the work I'm doing for you video. And this guy named Charlie gets up in front of, how many of us were there? 1,100. Point of order, he says. Now, I don't know Robert's rules of whatever. I'm a good old boy from Bakersfield. I'm just like, hey, yeah, that would be me. And he goes, can we please get on to the voting for the candidates and stop the propaganda videos, is what he called them.
There it is.
And I was like, yeah.
Good
She
job.
got mad. She gavelled him out, shut off the microphone. You're out of order. You're out of order. That's what it was like. But the weather was great. And I still love San Diego, although just to get a glass of wine at the Sheraton there was $19.
Oh, that's a
For
rip
$2 Chuck, it was $19.
You know,
Those are the kind of prices that were there.
What I'm really happy about, though, is I think, you know, the fact that you got in Matt's face and the fact that Corinne is getting such pushback from people in the convention is a good sign. Mike Morrell and the work that you did and others did to try to make him chair, it is paying off. Don't forget Jack Guerrero is there. Don't forget you got great vice chairs like David Hernandez. Don't give up the show.
Yeah, David Hernandez is extraordinary. So is Jack Guerrero. I'm a huge fan of both.
Keep up the great work. I think also I presume that most of the people supporting Hilton were proxies. That's just my sentiment on it. And if you didn't have those, I think Bianca would have gotten the 60% plus. But it shows even with all the money, because the consultant class and the media class, they want Hilton. I didn't say establishment necessarily. Hey, Spike. But it's like, it's about money because he has more money, I presume. But it looks like Chad, who did his homework and started early and networked with committees and grassroots and Republican Assembly, is taking that edge out. I was just really excited in general with the outcome. Hilton people I found to be a little more acerbic, unfortunately, but that's okay. I can give them grace. What can they say? Hilton's, you know, that Bianco's ahead, and that's why there's upset. But people need to get over it. They can't bellyache about BLM or amnesty. All that stuff's been dismissed now. Hilton needs to give me results. And if you're not going to give me results, you're not going to get votes. You got to tell me what you're going to do. I think you just articulated that perfectly. Hilton says $3 gas. It should be $2.50. Why are we settling for $3? That is just not a good talking point.
He started with $2. Remember, last year when he first announced, he was saying $2 gas. $2. I noticed. Oh,
now he's moving up to $3. What is this? And that's the key thing. Bianco has given the solutions. He's talked about the regulatory schemas he can undo, the commissions he can change.
He got into detail about that too, CARB and all that stuff. I'm like,
nobody's talking about this. The governor appoints judges. The governor appoints judges. I can't wait. Bianca will have that list of Federalist Society judges, and you can start putting them all over the state. Wouldn't that be great? No more woke judges letting all these criminals go free. Yeah. So that's a big deal. And speaking of this governor's race, we've got another gift. I'm seeing the silver lining with everything. So Bianco gets 49%. He did better than Hilton. And then Eric Swalwell went down in flames. Eric Swalwell fell down a well. This is juicy and beautiful and vindicating on so many levels. I must say, I'm all about justice. I'm all about due process. You know, we know that he was a fang freak. We know that he was not faithful to his wife. But when you have 5 people coming forward saying he
over and over again, there's several women that have lined up to accuse him.
Where were they 6 years ago? Where were they 10 years ago? So
all it takes is one. All it takes is one to step up and strap on a set and say, you know what? This bothers me. I can't let him keep getting away with this. And then the other ones are like going, well, she's going to say, I'm going to come out too. But most
just
of them
very suspect.
They're scared to death, and rightly so. I can't blame them for being afraid of these power mongers.
That is true. I can't dismiss that. When the video came out where the guy was with a hooker, we don't know who recorded that video, but we're probably going to find out very soon. So that really substantiated it. I mean, in general, we don't want to have a society where any lady can accuse any guy and he gets hung from a tree.
I don't
That's
want
the
that
only
either.
thing. But and
that
let's
whole Me Too movement was ridiculous. Trust
It is.
everybody. Really? Why didn't you
No.
trust all the women who were accusing Bill Clinton? They're such hypocrites.
There you go. But it's all working for good. I mean, I could say from a political perspective, I was hoping, well, first of all, it doesn't matter. Swalwell's going to be on the ballot. It's too late. They can't take him off. So that's the first thing.
I think we need
thing,
to start a campaign right away, talking to all on the left and all Democrats. Vote Swalwell.
There you go.
Really
so I'm not worried about that. The second thing is Tom Steyer. He's the old white guy, and the Democratic Party has declared war on old white.
The old white rich guy.
Rich white guy. So an old. Yeah. They had no problem with Joe Biden. He was so old he didn't even know who he was. But it's like rich white men. They are all anathema. And the Democrat Party, you see a lot of rumblings, especially in California. They won't tolerate that. They could hold their nose for Joe Biden because they wanted to get rid of Trump in 2020. But this is California. They can't let their intersectionality standards be wiped away so easily. It must be a female. It should be a black female. They did a poll, I kid you not, right after the Swalwell controversy started to swell up. And people said they wanted Kamala Harris to be the governor. They were saying, we want Kamala. She got majority of the support. And it's too late. She cannot join. It's over. So you see that they're obsessed with the race and the sexual identity, all that stuff. So what's going to happen? This is what I'm hoping. Silver lining predictions, but still. Steyer's got more money than he knows what to do with. He's going to drag down anybody who gets like over 10% support, like Karen Katie Porker or Javier Becerra. He's going to spend millions and tear down that candidate. So every one of them is going to try to jump in. Tony Thurman's going to try to say something. Mahan's going to try to get in. And Steyer will be there to drag him down with huge amounts of money. And everybody's going to hate Steyer because he's a billionaire. It's going to still split the vote. I think it has actually improved our chances of 2 Republicans. I really do. I am cautiously optimistic. 40% more polling continues to show 2 Republicans in the top 2. Democrats are really panicking, and it's more people are waking up to how dishonest and incredulous the more corporate media is, and everybody's asking questions. Why are we seeing and hearing all this stuff about Swalwell now? He did stuff in 2019. He did stuff before. There were people who complained about him before. People are getting wise to this. They really are. And the guy whose name was Klobuchar, I think, Stephen Klobuchar, he was supporting Swalwell. He just quit the Democratic Party. He just became a libertarian. He's so angry. It's further divided the base. There are people who are hardcore Swalwell people, and they're going to be mad.
We were all talking as early as Saturday. It was going around the convention. Swalwell has suspended his gubernatorial campaign.
Yeah.
But is he going to step down? And I said, no, Democrats never step down. They just don't. We do right away. He looked at a woman's cleavage at a baseball game. And I saw it. And here's a photo of it. Looking at that woman's cleavage. I quit. I resigned my position. I'm no longer senator. Republicans do that all the time. Democrats could drag Dalmatian puppies through the street and do horrible things with them, and still would never resign.
But that's the thing. So that's more good news. Look at Swalwell. Totally collapsed. He's gone.
So I was wrong.
I think if you have 2 Republicans in the top 2, you're going to have a lot more Republican congressmen, a lot more state assemblymen, because Democrats aren't going to vote. I'm just very excited. And I say this again, the sheriff is such a great leader and candidate, and you gave a bigger window. It means a lot to me that you're willing to support him. He has flaws. I get it. I respect that. People should be allowed to identify that. But boy, he's a big improvement over Steve Hilton. And I've said this before, Steve Hilton is still a big improvement over Dolly and Ryan Kashkari and all of them.
Of course.
I'm not afraid of Trump.
Great
I'm not afraid to say Trump is a good guy.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I do like Steve Hilton. I personally like Steve Hilton. Yeah. He has said yes yes to me every time about being on my show.
So that helps.
He's been
Not
very
afraid to talk
very accessible, and he goes to 3 places to every one of Chad Bianco's one. But also, Chad, as I was explaining to people who go, "How come I don't see Chad?" He's running one of the largest sheriff's departments in the nation.
There you go. He's still
He's
sheriff.
doing that while he's campaigning for governor. And I got a little wind from one of his staffers about his schedule. You realize he's doing his sheriff work at night. So he is getting very few hours of sleep. He's doing his sheriff work at night.
Man.
And then campaigning during the day. Wow. So if I get him on the show, I'll give him an attaboy just for that. That's amazing to me. I don't know how these guys do it, frankly. Steve Hilton, by the way, has put on, and he said this himself, 28 pounds since he's been on the road. 28 pounds.
Hilton put on weight.
Yeah. And when you're eating out all the time and getting treated to fancy dinners, that's a tendency to happen. But Chad, man, he's like svelte, and he was walking around the halls of that Sheraton Hotel with packing his silver-plated 45. Like, that's impressive, man.
Well, he can still carry. That's right, because he's a sheriff. He's a law enforcement official. He can do it. Well, I hope that we get that expanded to everybody. That's a big win for me.
Yeah, me too.
I'm broadly excited about everything we're seeing. Some, I've shared it before. Some Hilton people are attacking me. I don't care. I could be positive. I've always been positive. I think that's always been the upper hand. But it doesn't matter. The fact that we have such a contentious, exciting, something else that is interesting. I didn't go into this last time. I have people across the country that are contacting me, asking me about this race. They're following what's going on in California. You go back 4 years ago, nobody cared because Gavin Newsom was
matter of fact, they were downright hostile. Screw them. We don't care. Let them implode. Yep. No, I think they're finally waking up. Oh, maybe we better pay attention, because if California goes down, guess what's going to happen to the rest of the states?
Yes. And
you're not going to be able to stop the financial collapse, if nothing else. You're not going to be able to stop it. I don't care how isolated you think you are. Yeah. Because I've had this discussion with Floridians and Texans, and they're like, nope, we're all set here. Well, no, come on. Wake up. It's a very powerful economy, and it's teetering on collapse right now. We're so broke.
Collapse California is bad for the country, and people are seeing that, and there's hope that something can turn around in California. And that means a lot to me. I'm very excited about that. And look, Swalwell'S gone, and there's rumblings. Ro Khanna could be next. And Ro Khanna up there in East Bay has always tried to make himself as some kind of open-minded Democrat who's not as crazy and more populist. If he goes up in flames, that's going to be very exciting for us. And it looks like he's in trouble next. Martin Shkreli, the guy who went to prison for 7 years over security exchange issues. I don't know the details. It had something to do with pharmacy. He's back in the public eye. He went after Swalwell. He released the video where Swalwell was kissing a hooker. And then he just made a warning shot and said, Ro Khanna, you are next. Don't F with me. I won't give the whole word, but he wrote the whole word. There's rumblings that a U.S. Senator from Arizona, Ruben Gallego, he was the guy in the room with Swalwell recording the video. I guarantee.
Are you serious?
He's going to be toast. There's no way they are going to allow this to stand. And we want to look at this in the larger picture. A lot of people are upset. It's scary because, man, the gas prices are high, even in states where they don't have all the stupid taxes we do. But Trump, my Lord, it is just amazing what he's done. He did a switcheroo. Iran. It wasn't just about getting rid of nuclear threats. This is about ending the oil cartel in the Middle East.
This on the other side, the other strait on the other side of Saudi Arabia is that's Yemen territory. And that's why Iran has been so involved in making sure Yemen is towing the line for the Islamic freaks. And so we've got two straits that are always in peril.
What I want to point out, though,
20, 30, 40% of the world's oil.
20% goes to the Strait of Hormuz.
Just through the Strait of Hormuz. The other one
And
Yeah.
it doesn't, I was talking to somebody yesterday and they're like, why do we care? Why are we involved in this? And it's like, look, if you have 20% of the supply is cut off, that means everybody's going after what's left. And that's going to jack the prices up. You want to have a big market, a big supply set for everybody. So it matters. But what I wanted to point out, Mike Netter brought this out. I saw this from another pundit. You see all of these massive tankers. They're coming to the United States to get oil. We're processing the Venezuelan oil. We are distributing our own oil. If the independence referendum succeeds in Alberta, they have the third largest oil supply in the world. They could supply the entire world for 200 years with the hydrocarbon they have in Alberta, Canada. And they become free or become a United State, we will have all the cards. It will put an end to the cartel that Iran and these other Arab militant, Islamic militant countries have imposed on the world. This is economic freedom of an unprecedented variety. This cuts off the funding to terrorism. This, and most importantly, it cuts China off at the knees. This is so big. I mean, he has.
I really believe that this Venezuela, Cuba, Iran thing is all about that.
Yes, I totally
I firmly believe that that was to take out China. If they don't have the oil or
it's
the
about
fuel,
China.
power,
It's
the
not
little
about
war machine, they're not going to be attacking anybody.
And China is the bigger problem. It will always be. They're belligerent to Japan. They have attacked. They steal our IP. They manipulate their currency. They have threatened Taiwan. They threaten. This is a big issue. We lose Taiwan. That is a big thing. That's worse than Ukraine. I haven't paid as much attention to it. I've shared with the audience, you know, when I say I've changed on Ukraine, I mean I care. I don't want Ukraine to fall into Putin's hands. I don't want troops on the ground. I don't want us sending foreign aid. I think the mineral rights deal is perfect what Trump did. We're helping you out. You help us out, because no country should become a vassal state. We don't want that. But with Taiwan, that's a big deal. If Taiwan falls to the Communist Party, we're going to be in big trouble, because it's not just about trade routes. It's also about technology. It's also about the chips, international AI development. This is a major problem. And China is evil, communist. They are worse than, you know, it's like Iran wants
and
to blow
North Korea
up.
is definitely infiltrating South Korea in ways that I just found out recently from a military friend of mine that there's South Korea. Pay attention to what's going on there.
A pro-Chinese government has taken over. It has a left-wing government. This is a problem. They are arresting pastors right now in South Korea. This is horrible. The previous conservative president, they just put him in jail for a whole bunch of years because South Korea still has these problems, you know, that they impeach on a more regular basis, and then they accuse and criminalize the previous presidents. It's a bit of a problem still. You'd think the country was really stable because it's very prosperous and large and has quite an influence in the world. It's still got some issues. North Korea has been a lot quieter. Oh no, North Korea, they backed away from Iran. That's a big win. China backed away from Iran. Trump, it really is true. This is 4D chess. He took care of Venezuela. It hurt Russia. Going after Iran hurt China. Everything is falling in line. It's perfect. This is going to be bigger than when the Berlin Wall came down. This is so exciting. And we, as Californians, we're right on the Pacific Rim. This state needs to be back into the American conglomerate, if you will. This state has been so rebellious. And I think we're going to see that this year. We're going to see a Javier Milei turnaround like what Argentina had, when nobody ever thought that Milei, a libertarian, a real capitalist, would take over and fix Argentina. I think we're going to see that in California. I really do. The doomers, the gloomers, the bloopers need to shut up.
Only if the election fraud is fixed.
Don't worry about that. I know it's. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but Trump, the order about you can't do the mail-in balloting to anybody you want, that is a legitimate authority. You can't be sending out ballots to people who are dead. That's a federal offense. You're using the federal mail system. So he has every right to get involved in that. I think that is going to stand under scrutiny. If you outvote the fraud, we've done it before in California. We saw Jeff Gonzalez win. We saw Leticia Castillo. They were able to outvote the fraud and they won. I think we can do this. As much as I think Gloria Romero.
I'm sorry, Gloria Romero.
Last of all,
did get the
he's a little too liberal for my taste.
She
the
did get
fact
the lieutenant governor endorsement, by the way, from the California GOP.
she did or she didn't, I think she did.
Did.
So, I'm at mixed places that she's not my first choice. I'm not going to vote for her right now.
No,
I'm
me
just
neither.
not. She's too liberal, but I'll take
Agreed.
anybody who's closer in our direction than nothing. I'm not going to play this game. I'm willing to give anybody a chance. And the fact that we've had so many people switching parties to our side in the state of California says a lot. And I think we should not sniff at that. I'll give her a chance in the general, presuming she makes it. We'll see. But I'm probably going to vote for Evie. I've met her in person. She's a great
love
lady.
Evie Lynch, but she didn't even get a place on the stage. I voted for her to get a voice up there, but I was outvoted. Let's talk about speaking of California. A boy, basically, he's a young kid, and may God bless him and the work he's doing. He started out talking about Minnesota fraud with the Somalis and all that stuff, and he came to California. I don't know whose idea that was, but it was brilliant. I'm glad they did it. I'm glad he's here. He's still here, as far as I know. Because he's still releasing videos, but he was focusing on the fraud here. But now he has shifted the focus. He's doing videos. He's exposing voter fraud.
Good.
Hardcore about it, and showing everybody how they're doing it, how they've been doing it. And the Democrat Party is squealing like stuck pigs.
Nick Shirley is doing God's work. I'm grateful for him.
Amen.
I think Minnesota.
So I'm going to talk about that. Hang on, before you talk about that, though, because that's what we're going to get to. Because it's the Democrats have brought up AB, which means Assembly Bill 2624, AB 2624. But I'm going to ask you before we talk about that to do me a favor. If you could hit that like button right now. That helps with the algorithms, and it promotes the show, and Rumble goes, hey, this guy's getting some attention. Arthur, you and I will get thousands of views, and we'll get one like. Come on. Can you please hit that like button for me right now? Hit it right now. It makes a difference. The other thing is if you comment. Just comment below. You got any questions, got any thoughts? Make it more than 5 words, though, because that's another thing. Algorithm, if it's 5 words or less, they automatically register as a bot because that's so prevalent now. So if you can make it at least 6 words, I'd appreciate it. But that helps notice that stuff. And the other is share these shows, because Facebook took away all my pages. So did Instagram, which is Facebook. And I don't have any way to let, at the time, 40,000 people know, hey, I got a new show out. Now I don't. So if you can share these shows at rumble.com/do-not-talk, I'd appreciate it. And the other thing I'd really appreciate is if you would click on that QR code that's right over there above Arthur's head. That takes you to nuevalife.com/CharLee Simons for American-made products for your mind, for your body, for your skin care. It's extraordinary, and it's made in the US of A. It's a newer company, great products. What do you got to lose? Just put your phone on that QR code and it'll take you right to it, or type in your URL, Nueva, Nueva, nuevalife.com/CharLee Simons, CharLeeSimons. Oh, and while we're talking about CharLee Simons, CharLeeSimons.com is where you can get some merchandise. I'm getting people now. It's been exciting, aren't they? People sending me photos where they've bought a mug and it just arrived, Charlie, and they're getting hats and they're getting shirts and they're sending me photos on my private number to look, I got one. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. So if you can help me buy some merchandise, or you'll be helping the show stay on the air. CharLeeSimons.com. All right. AB 2624. I don't know who proposed it, who or what assemblyman or woman did this, but they're literally calling it the Stop Nick Shirley Act. What they should be calling it is the Stop the First Amendment Act. This is insane. It aims to prohibit posting personal information or images of designated immigration support services. But he's not doing that now. He's showing mailboxes, etc., and post office boxes that people are getting, have put in their registration to vote as their home. This is what he's showing. So this they might be too late on this, but the simple fact that they're doing it and being so blatant about it. So the bill championed by Assembly. Oh, here we go. Listen carefully. Assemblywoman Mia Bonta.
There you go.
Aims to curb harassment while opponents argue if silences independent journalists, exposing fraud, is opening a Pandora's box of just shutting all of us down, which is the idea. That's what the left does. That's what Marxism does, don't they? Shut down all the centers, shut down anybody who dares to speak out against them. We've seen it time and time again, and now it's in California. That is right now in the process of going through the House of California. And you know it's going to pass. You know it's going to, because they have a super majority. And then what? What's going to happen, Arthur?
We have, this state legislature, they just throw a temper tantrum every time things don't go their way. And they don't seem to understand that.
Like children.
Big Daddy Trump gets to call the shots and gets to put them in timeout now.
They're that 4-year-old in the grocery store on the floor screaming and throwing a tantrum. That describes them perfectly.
And they're not getting a candy bar this time, and they're gonna sit in the car, and they're not gonna get their mac and cheese, and they're gonna get their teddy bear taken away next, because there's gonna be a Republican governor who's gonna start cleaning up the mess. So this is just an absolute desperation of the worst order. I give Carl DeMaio props. He introduced a bill, or was an initiative, that would force legislators to pay the legal fees for every law that gets dragged through a federal court and gets struck down. I think that's more than appropriate. If you are pushing legislation that is blatantly, patently unconstitutional, you should pay for that. Not me, not you. But that's what's happening, because this stuff gets dragged through court, and the attorney general steps in to support these anti-constitutional measures.
And they've got all the time in the world, and that's their job, and they got all the money in the world thanks to us.
We need to. That would be a great initiative, putting an end to frivolous lawsuits. No, you cannot.
Vexatious litigants need to go.
You pay for it if you're going to push legislation that violates my rights. And that's the way it should be. Every legislator should be terrified of introducing a bill that would limit, frustrate, or violate the rights of the citizenry. That's all this is. It is going to fail. This is virtue signaling of the lowest order. We have seen, I think, 21 hospice care fraudsters have been arraigned in court in Los Angeles County already.
It's happening.
Thank you, Nick Shirley, for doing that. There is massive fraud. This is the tip of the iceberg. Everybody was screaming about California being far worse than Minnesota, and that is a fact. There's more of it, more fraud. There are Somali layering centers as opposed to learning centers. That is a common practice here.
Centers, yes.
Creepy. I remember a friend of mine, Fernando Pedraza, he was showing me all of the health clinics in Huntington Park and Cudahy, and how the agencies were making people dependent on drugs, not just dependent on government-run health care, so to speak. This is quite a racket. Obamacare just opened the floodgates for this corruption, and California has jumped into it head first, and we've got to pull the plug on it. President Trump has directed J.D. Vance to spearhead the fraud exposure efforts, shutting down these fraudulent clinics. We have to keep in mind that it's a tip of the iceberg as far as federal spending is concerned, but it's still fraud. It must be stopped. This is Doge with the capital D. This is exactly what we need. I'll give Steve Hilton that bit of credit, the Doge movement. We need that. There's a lot of stuff that should be removed entirely, not just made more efficient. Nick Shirley should keep up the great work. I hope this stuff gets teeth on it. I remember there was a bill introduced, I think last year. It would have permitted welfare recipients to commit like up to $25,000 worth of fraud and not go to jail. I mean, they've made it. Democrats in Sacramento have made it very clear welfare recipients and fraudsters are their constituency, and they want to protect them. Isn't this horrible? But that's what we're dealing with. And Nick Shirley has put more than a spotlight on it. And I think it's more than welcome.
How much time you got?
Oh, I've got all the time in the world.
Okay.
We have world enough in time just for today. Okay.
I want to bring up at least one more thing.
Okay.
My president, and he is my president, and I'm not going to suddenly stop supporting him. And I did not, as I've always said, I'm not electing a pastor.
No.
I'm electing a businessman to run the largest corporation in the world. And that's what he is. He's a businessman. I don't know if he's Christian or not. Some say that, oh, no, he became a Christian. He himself has said, no, I'm not. That was early on. I don't know where he stands now.
Sure.
But I know that this was dumb. And of course, it came up in, it was first posted back in February. Somebody else did that. A guy named Nick Adams made the meme. Trump slams Pope Leo as weak, and he's right. And posts picture of himself as Jesus healing the sick. But let me show you the whole thing in case you haven't seen it.
Okay, well, okay, show it to me. I've certainly got my views on this, but they might be a diverse set of views for sure. But let's see.
There it is.
So who are they? I didn't have a chance. I didn't look that closely. Who are they?
This unfortunately is cropped too tightly, so you don't see all of it.
Okay, I got to look for
it. It's hard to, if you can find the whole thing, it's hard to find because President Trump pulled it pretty quickly. As soon as backlash
which was
started.
Wise, don't get me wrong.
He says that it was, he didn't mean it as in like he's Jesus. He meant it like he's healing. He's healing the nation, especially for veterans, because these are all veterans in the picture. There's an eagle up top and a couple of warplanes, but one of the warplanes is morphed into almost like an eagle. There's 4 veterans up in heaven, walking up towards heaven, and President Trump was putting his hand, and of course the light coming from his hands.
Yes,
that's a big problem.
Okay, I see them as they're warriors. They're like veterans, soldiers. That's what I see at the top there. You see, the biggest problem was the reaction, which was kind of inevitable, but like he has a wicked, brash sense of humor. And I'm a Christian. I'm proud of my Savior. Christ is not just King, he's King of Kings. There, I'm saying it, not ashamed of the gospel. It has the power to save. I think he was mocking and provoking the Pope. And you know what? That to me is the bigger subject, if I may be so bold. This guy openly, toe-to-toe, stands up to the Pope. And you know what? I am glad he did. I am so disappointed in Pope Leo XIV. I thought he would be a step in the right direction. This guy is Pope Leo 2.0, from blessing blocks of ice to saying we should accept every immigrant. He's had transgender, this and that, coming to the Vatican to get prayed for. Look, people need prayer. I'm not saying you shouldn't minister to the sick, to the sinful, to the lost. But the way this is done with the Pope, it elevates them as if the identity is normal and normative. And it's not. That's never what ministry should do. When Jesus washed the feet of his disciples, they weren't living in open sin, promoting false identities about themselves. Okay, but let me wrap up this with the picture. It was not going to be a wise thing because people were going to be offended by it. You look at Jesus.
I don't blame them for being offended by it. Okay. I'm actually offended by it.
Okay,
I think it was a very dumb choice.
I said it and I'm wrong here. If Trump had given himself long hair and a beard, we would have a problem. But the fact that it's so silly because it shows him just as himself. Now, initially I was offended, but the more I look at it, it's pretty funny. It's just so silly.
Well, a lot on the right are saying, I do it. He's the Antichrist.
It's so dumb. I mean,
how can you call him the Antichrist? If you've ever actually read God's word, you'd know it spelled out very clearly what kind of individual the Antichrist is or is going to be.
Okay, hold on a sec. This reminds me a lot of like Andy Kaufman.
Not Trump.
Okay, Andy Kaufman's sense of humor, like, when he would dress up as Tony Clifton and he would like do stuff that was so outlandish, it was funny. It's like Don Rickles, he would Don Rickles insulted people. He would say racist comments and people laughed because they knew how over the top it was. And I see the same thing with this picture. It's so over the top. Okay, but the fact is, You were offended. Lots of people were offended. You don't offend Christians, who are the biggest voting bloc for the Republican Party. And he took it down. And that's a good thing. I don't think that, I think, he went after Allah and said, praise Allah, when he said, I'm going to blow up Iran.
That was on Resurrection Sunday, what the world calls Easter, he said.
Right. And, I had no problem with it. It's like, I didn't elect him to be a president. I elected him to be, not a pastor, but I did elect him to be a president. Excuse me. I didn't elect him to be a pastor. So I didn't vote for the guy to be nice. I don't have a problem with that. I think he did the right thing taking it down. I think it's just so silly. It's like, how can you not laugh? It's like, and he's making fun of the Pope, and the Pope deserves some mockery. The Pope wants to be some kind of podcaster influencer, and he's supposed to be the spiritual head of a large denomination of the Christian faith. And he is debasing his office, and he is succumbing to the spirit of the age. You want to talk about Antichrist? Oh, I don't want to offend Catholic audiences right now, but I hope the Catholic faithful are looking at this Pope and going, what's happening? This is very disturbing. I think shame on him. The Pope said, people who start wars, God doesn't hear their prayers. You ever heard of Joshua? Joshua literally said, God, stop the sun and the moon so I can wipe these people out. And God did it. Okay. There's going to be wars in Revelation where God is you're going to have the people crying out in Jerusalem, save us. And God and Jesus Christ himself will show up and wipe out everybody. Trying to wipe out Israel.
Yeah,
there's a lot of warriors. How about
your point?
How about Moses? I just read this today. I was reading about how Hur and Aaron held up his arms so that the Israelites could wipe out Amalek. And you know what? God heard their prayer. I'm sorry, that is the bigger. Okay, so I'm obviously going to have a difference of opinion. Lots of people can send me their hate mail. Bring it. I am not as nearly as offended as Trump dressing up as some weirdo wannabe healer. He took the Mormon Jesus, the red carpet. That's from Mormon stuff. So it's a total mockery. I mean, I'm laughing at it. I see how silly it is. Everybody should have laughed. It's so funny. That's my take on it. But more importantly, it's this Pope. And I'm so glad that President Trump has the guts to say, you're out of line, buddy. Who do you think you are?
Oh, I am too.
And here's the funny thing. He's still an American citizen. So think about that. We have the
one thing I never
citizen.
hear anybody talk about or bring up is I've heard this from the left so much. More people have died from wars in the name of God. Well, that's a load of crap. Really? Were all the Chinese that were murdered by Mao Zedong, alleged 60 million people, were they all Christians? Shut up. What a
It was an
argument.
atheistic
But
regime.
while we're talking about that, yes, there were many people who have died in Christian wars, but they were Catholic. There were Catholic wars that were going on, the Inquisition and so on.
There you go. So maybe Pope's got a lot to answer for.
Horrible things that sect, that denomination has done in the name of God. And we got it's historically, they can't be denied. Yeah. Who is he to stand there and say God's not going to hear your prayers of somebody making war when the Catholic Church has made war against we Protestants for generations?
St. Bartholomew Day's massacre in France. We could talk about the Spain. You mentioned the Inquisition. Also, it was in Italy. This was horrific stuff. I am really disturbed by and then for him to be Leo to be saying such stuff. He wants to. I think Trump just called him and says, oh, you want to be an influencer. You want to be a podcaster. You need to shut your mouth and focus on the church. And boy, no. Now, I'm hearing all the stuff about Catholic converts and Catholic congregations are growing. I don't think that's true, actually. The numbers have been really low and they're bouncing up a little, but it's really in evangelical circles. You're seeing huge numbers. That's where the revival is. In Argentina, before Milei got elected, there were huge spiritual revivals. It was not the Catholic Church. The same is true in Venezuela. There were spiritual revival going on there. You're seeing a shift away, even in France, which is like Catholic to its cultural core. You're seeing Protestant denominations growing. Although there is people are trickling into they may be trickling into the Catholic Church, but then they leave as soon as they start reading the Bible. This is a fact. And they start going to non-Catholic communities. That's what's happening. And the same thing's true really with the Orthodox Church. You know, Vladimir Putin makes himself to be, I'm going to be the spiritual successor to Rome. That's what the game is. They want to see themselves as through Constantinople as opposed to Rome. There's all the political rivalry. But this is the same Vladimir Putin who has no problem paying he pays the bills for the Orthodox Church. If that's not corrupt, I don't know what is. That is not holy. So that's a turnoff, and nobody cares. Orthodoxy is just not spreading the way people think it is. People are reading their Bibles more. I loved it. There was an Indian, or talking an Asian Indian. He is an evangelist on Instagram. So he's probably like 20 years old. Maybe he's still in high school, but he is just such an incredible impact. And he says, if you read a little bit, you become Orthodox. If you read a little more, you become Catholic. If you read a lot more, you become Protestant. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. This is not to insult. It's just a fact. The more you read scripture, you can't abide by a papal authority or this idea of a local authority.
Praying to idols, praying to Mary.
No. The Mariology.
The deity of Christ Jesus, denying hell, and man-based. That's the biggest sign of a cult, man-based. The Pope is the only one that hears from God. The Pope is the only one who can tell you what the Bible really means.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Every cult does that.
Yes, that's a problem in the Orthodox Church too. It's the church that tells you what the Bible says. No, God spoke to us through his word. It was given to fishers and tax collectors and farmers who were entrusted to share and inform. Paul wasn't the only guy. You had Luke and others. They were not necessarily as scholastic, but God used them to deliver his word to us. This is important. This is a huge revival we're seeing.
He was
all over the world. Luke was a doctor. That's correct.
Matthew was what we would call a CPA today. So yeah, there were some white collar folks.
IRS
and a tax collector. Yes, that's true. I love Matthew.
And I love this too. It's like we're seeing a real revival here. It's like, to see a real Christian revival happening where the traditions of men are collapsing. And if that means like the Catholic Church has to, this is crisis level now when you have a pope who is so perversely political and he says stuff that is so wrong.
I'm quite convinced that's why the Catholic Church was so involved with their NGO, their Catholic charities of getting illegals into this country. The only thing they cared about was getting people back into their churches again. I really am quite convinced that's what that was all about. They don't care if it brings down the state of California. They don't care if it brings down the United States of America. As long as they get more people in their churches, that's all they cared about. You think they really, really care?
That's a big thing.
They really, really care. They were teaching people how to break the law. They had attorneys who were teaching people how to break the law and utilizing it, freebies and everything else. They are not who they say they are. I don't think they ever have been who they say they are. But that's
when you have any denomination that is connected or relying on government handout or subsidy, and boy, that is big with the Catholic Church when it comes to immigration. Oh, brother, it is despicable. It's a real problem. Same thing
as Pope telling us we shouldn't have a wall.
Oh, brother,
the Vatican is surrounded by one of the biggest walls in the world.
Exactly. I think this is I have to harp on this more. It's just I got like an email from a Catholic group in Boston, and they're like, "Oh, this is the first president to attack the Pope directly." And first of all, that writer frequently attacked Francis. And that was okay for him to do it. Explain that to me. And second of all, my answer is it's about time. It's about time that somebody said something. You're out of line, buddy. How dare you talk to me like that? How dare you push things like that? We can go back to like Pope John Paul II. He was fighting communism. He helped the cause of freedom. He helped biblical revelations. Pope Benedict even more so. And look what they did. They forced him out. That's the truth. He was forced out because he was blowing the whistle on all the sexual perversion, on all the moral corruption, and he was forced out. It told us that there was something. It was like a coup, and nobody wants to talk about that. But Pope Benedict was like, it was really bad what happened to him. Nobody talks about that, and he got nothing of any kind of recognition when he passed away. He was still always wearing the white clothes. It was not as unusual as people think. Once in a while, you'd have a pope resign, but they didn't destroy everything. He's still alive. So then they have to have a successor, but he would still be walking around. So it's not completely unusual, but the way he was treated, he was sidelined because he was bringing back a moral authority. And then you got the communist Pope Francis, and now I'm very disappointed. I had hopes, but I was wrong. Pope Leo is another globalist, communist, progressive, and it's very sad. And I hope the Catholic faithful, they need to wake up and read their Bibles and stop going with this. And maybe this is like the closing chapter on this institution. It's a sad thought, but the truth must prevail. And look at that. President Trump took out Venezuela. He took out the dictator of Venezuela. He's taken out Cuba. He's taken out the Ayatollah in Iran. I think we can see Putin's war in Ukraine is going to draw to a close. He has no more resources. China's going to cut off Russia because now they're losing Iran. And then maybe the Vatican. Let's see. Look at all these kingdoms going down.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've never heard Arthur so happy on my way back from San Diego, heading up NorCal where I live. I get a text from him. I'm so happy. This is great. Yes. Everything's going great.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see Arthur happy and hear him laughing, because normally he's a pretty serious fellow.
Yes.
Thank you for the work you do with Mass Resistance, massresistance.org. Yeah. I value them so much, and I hope that you will as well. What's going on those fronts?
So we're still working in Redlands. We had some success in Senegal. We're developing some of the things we've discovered in Oklahoma as well. We are moving ahead we're building on and exposing the realities about what the Supreme Court has ruled, chipping away at LGBT hegemony in this country. Those are some of the key things that we've been developing right now. We really want to perfect our new clean up the schools initiative. And we're doing that in Redlands for starters. I've reached out to a couple more people who are going to be getting involved. The school board meeting is tonight, in fact. We've been helping them we really need to expose, confront, and scare off these leftists. This is something that our side just still isn't very good at. You have to break their will so they go away. It's not enough to win arguments. You have to break their will. And that's something that we're really invested in at Mass Resistance.
Good. Yeah. Massresistance.org. And you can find Arthur's work at, he's got a blog spot, SCHAPER1, the letter A, SCHAPER, SCHAPER, the number 1, .blogspot.com. Yep. All right, my friend. Thank you so much for spending some more time with me.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
You bet. I'm gonna stop talking in a second, which is gonna be, I'm sure everybody will enjoy that, just so I can save my voice. I have Wano Saban on later on today, and I don't want to miss that. And I'm already feeling it's getting a hard time getting these words out, so I'm going to have to shut up. So on that note, may God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America bless God.